This is the city that I make in this video. If you want to check out a tour of the whole thing, you can go to the storyline section at the end. Otherwise, if you want to see a walkthrough of making the different components and my thought process in each one, stick around for the full video.
Welcome back to my channel, everyone. So in this video, I'm going to be making a split city, a city that is divided in half by a wall. The most famous real-world example of this is obviously Berlin with the Berlin Wall, but the city that I'm making isn't explicitly Berlin. It's just some city that at one point had a gigantic wall built right down the middle of it. To do this, I need a really large island, so I need the entire map to be covered in one layer of tiles. That takes forever. Last time I did it, it took about 40 minutes. So instead of doing it from scratch, I decided to just delete most of the buildings off of my previous build, which you can see in my previous video, and then start from there. So right here, I'm just kind of deleting houses, deleting walls, piers, the fishing area, the exterior wall as well, and kind of trying to flatten it into just a big pancake. And then from there, I can start my build for today. I've said this before and I'll say it again, that if there's one thing I could change about this game, it would definitely be the process of laying down earth tiles. This game makes it really difficult to place large swaths of tiles at one time, which I think is a pretty important part of building any city. So definitely, if someone involved in the making of this game is watching this, please take note.
Alright, so I gotta decide how I'm going to split up this island. I think that I probably want to go evenly, just because that way I'll kind of have the two even sides against each other, so it's not kind of one-sided. I wonder if I made it asymmetrical, if there could be kind of a cool dynamic there, you know? Okay, what I'll do is I'll make kind of a harbor here, so that the two sides are not very different, but pretty different, just in terms of the, I guess, geographical resources available to them. So let's start with that. So this side has a pretty nice harbor to it. Boats can kind of come in through here, small boats can come in through here, and then they're protected within this harbor by this, whatever you call it, the kind of long peninsula thing. Now I guess it's too long to be natural, so we're just going to say it's kind of a man-made thing. But the next step is deciding whether or not I want the water to continue in. Do I want it to be kind of like an island going across, or is this enough? I think just for the sake of variation, let's make it an island. Perfect. Let's say I want this half to be the wealthier part of the city, just because that is, it's got this connection to the ocean, so it probably has more kind of commerce and international connections. And then this part of the city, I can make it more of like a industrial production type of place, which is more low income, and so there's kind of an inequality split between these two places. But this city would be smaller. This part of the city would be a lot smaller than this part, which kind of gives different types of advantages to each side of the city. So if I want this side to be smaller, I should probably make the canal smaller as well. And then the wall. So where should the wall be? I think that I should probably we should probably go along the river, because I'm assuming that these people were really, really committed to maintaining their control over the whole river. So they kind of gave up everything on the opposite side as long as they could extend their territory for the entire river length. And maybe I can cut the off. Perfect. Okay, so the wall can kind of be along this channel here. So what's a good, let me see, oh shoot, I can't see the grid. It's covered by the squares. I don't really see an easy path. I gotta go pretty close to the river then. Okay. So because this area is kind of a zigzaggy area, maybe I can make that the gate. So the only place where people are allowed to transfer between the two places. See, the wall looks a little bit wide in some places, you know, like you don't really need that fat of a wall to block people off. I think the more important thing for a wall is height, right? Not really width. Yeah, so let's delete the white part of the wall. And then let's add a second layer to the top of the dark side of the wall. Could I go even higher than this? Yeah, these people should really not like each other. Plus, if I make the buildings a certain height, you know, over 2 stories, I don't really love the idea of them towering over the wall. I kind of want the wall to be a really defining feature on the landscape. That should definitely be a tower of some kind of guard tower. That just makes sense, right? Maybe you can go right at the entrance, and then these can be the 2 towers. Is that too wide of an entrance? You really don't need it to be that wide, because we're kind of assuming that not many people get let through between each side of the city. So, okay, that's pretty good. Perfect, that's done. Then let's start on the larger half of the city, because the larger half is going to be more difficult, and also, to be honest, less fun. So what kind of feature would be in this part of the city? Maybe like a big hill in the middle could make it interesting. I've made hills before and they're not easy to do, but I guess it would make sense for there to be a hill because this would be, you know, the center of the island and this is the coast. So here we go. Great. So that hill looks pretty good. That can be kind of the basis for this half of the island. And then, so if I'm imagining that kind of the island had a whole unified history before the wall was put up, then the streets should go through the wall as well. They shouldn't be, you know, they should have the same pattern between the 2 cities, but development along those streets should probably be different, right? So if I make the first street, let's imagine that the first main street followed this. Let's see, what would this curve be? Oh geez, that's so difficult. Maybe followed a curve. No, you know what? We'll just tough it out. It would be a curve going through here like this. So if we just put buildings along the side, let's get some maybe green buildings. That can be the aesthetic. So the buildings in this half of the city should probably be, if I want to make it seem like this side of the city is not as rich, would I make them seem like tall and thin, or short and fat, or small and not really large? Maybe it should be a combination of really small buildings and then some like big apartment mega block type things. I think that would be pretty accurate. Maybe their zoning is less strong, so they don't have a unified color theme throughout their whole city. So it's pretty much just everyone building what they want. And maybe they can change color halfway through so that it's kind of like different parts of the building were built at different times. No kind of uniform style to it, just kind of heaps on heaps on heaps on heaps of people. Should the buildings go right up to the wall, or should there be kind of like a buffer zone? Maybe a buffer zone on this half of the, buffer zone on this half of the wall, but not on this half. Because these people are really overcrowded. They're really butting up against this wall. And then maybe these buildings that were built up against the wall were built more recently because they would have had to have been built after the wall was built. So they are kind of smaller. Yeah. So the gate isn't even in the middle of a area where there would usually be a street. It's kind of been it was just a total hodgepodge thing. Like, it wasn't made in line with the street or anything. It just totally cut it in half. And so the next section. Let's see. Maybe this can be one of the richer people of the town. So he's got kind of a nice courtyard, backyard, going behind where these buildings are. But the fact that he has a nice house has got to be kind of hidden. So he has the front color kind of painted differently. And then this street right here, let's have that be a minor street, because I'm imagining that before the wall was built, all of the main roads would be going to and from the kind of rich part and the poor part. And then right here, this could be kind of like a minor road that's become a major road, but because it's only done so recently, it still has the width it did when it was kind of a minor road. Let's get some offset going. If that's the main road, then even the side road would get widened out a little bit as it got closer, so we can kind of keep that a little bit wide. Oh, I kind of like that, how inside this courtyard you have to go up and then down and then up and then down in order to get over here. Makes it look kind of more out of the way, more hidden, you know? And then to someone on the outside, when they're looking into the courtyard, they see kind of a mysterious unknown tower. Kind of cool. Maybe that could be a church. So that would explain why it's so tall. It's some kind of historical monument. Okay, and then I don't know if I want two staircases on either side of this thing, so let's just relax and make it just one. Okay, and then the massive apartment building can go here. And that can be, oh, this is an ugly color, the ugliest color in the game. And then from the base, which just totally blocks off the street. Where I'm from, kind of like the New York area, the public housing is shaped like X's from the top. So maybe I should do that. Have more massive public housing buildings like this. And this can just totally disrupt the streetscape and go right in the middle of the road. Does not care about the people, just destroying everything in its path, blocking everything, shading everything, making the whole area around it kind of just dead. I was reading this book a couple years ago, Death and Life of Great American Cities, which was about how the street is the foundation of any good city, written by Jane Jacobs in New York City in, I think, like the 60s, I think 1960. And what she was saying is that when you take away one side of the street, it just totally deadens the street because you don't have the dynamic kind of interplay between people looking on either side of the street, looking at people, kids playing, looking at cars going past, customers, whatever. And so even a park or something on one side of a street can just totally make the whole street dead and really not a fun place to be. Okay, yeah, so this street used to go right through here, but then this building just blocked it and left a tiny little way to go past, like that. Not very considerate. And then for roof access, it's got that little thing. Oops. And then there were some parts of the city that were just left over that got left in this area that weren't demolished by this building, but they're totally cut off from everything else by that building. So it's kind of like there's no point of them even existing. You know, because they're not integrated into the street. And so these people are miserable. Let's do a little more. So let's make another one of these buildings, kind of similar shape, orientation, everything, color. Now, how would they go through the center of the city and there's organic, smaller, older people, older houses, on either side, so that just totally destroyed this section of the city. Perfect. And then along this wall, I should also have a pretty crowded streetscape area with lots of different buildings. And okay, so there can be some kind of life here, a little bit of a lifeline. I'll make a nice straight street here with a little alleys on either side for people to live. I'll give them a tiny little harbor so that like fisher boats and stuff can come in, but not really any major trade. So that this can be like a marketplace area. Can build a marketplace along this wall. So kind of imagining stalls underneath here. Ooh, cool. Nice. And then, so this can have its own little economy. This is a little island of hope behind the public housing. Maybe these people are in the fisher market business, fishing business, whatever. And then, so they kind of have a little bit of a cozy life. Okay, so this neighborhood is, I think it's pretty good. It's kind of self-enclosed, got its own little vibe. Cool. Now, I think as you go back, I want it to be a little bit more rural. And so maybe I can make a gigantic courtyard here, and that can be like a farming area or something. And then to explain the wall that I have to build the courtyard, maybe I can say that that's kind of like a security measure or something. Like it's some kind of old historic wall where, you know, back in the day, this is the part of the city that was invaded or something like that. And so they built this wall here to protect. And now it's no longer needed. It's not really relevant to the whole political situation because obviously the whole political thing is more on that side. But nevertheless, this wall still exists. Kind of just a low, dumpy little wall. And the farms can be small farms too because they don't really have the big industrialized stuff here. It's not very developed. So these people, they're just unlucky. It's just super hard to get to the school. Everything about the way the city was designed was not designed with the people who live here in mind. The school itself is not that bad. It's not great, but... And then leading into the school should be like a factory or something. So the school's behind just a big, ugly fish processing plant. Yeah, so the fish come in from the marketplace through here, and then they enter the processing plant through this entryway here. And then what else? I gotta build other things around here. It can't just be that. Maybe just some more buildings, some more little houses. And then they have an outhouse. So their school doesn't have indoor plumbing. They've got a little outhouse that just empties directly into the ocean. It's like one of those, what are they called? Just a hole in the ground, hole in the floor, so it goes right into the ocean. It's kind of gross. So if that's one of the major roads, and that's one of the major roads, then they can probably come up and join up here. So let's have this curve. Oh, perfect, it does curve, naturally. You know, this area of the city actually wouldn't be that bad to live in. I mean, it's pretty dense, but I kind of like being able to walk places, and the only problem is that there's no parks. So this road comes up, curves here, and maybe it also has a little offshoot in this direction. It was probably built over the course of thousands of years, you know, just people building buildings wherever they wanted with no kind of central planning authority or anything, and so maybe there was a big rock here, or maybe some other thing that was blocking them, and so they just decided, why not? Let's just make a 90-degree turn. What could this building be? Maybe like a storehouse for all the farm produce? I'm surprised that it's not making a roof there. So anyway, the farms can come here, unload their grain, it goes up into this tower, cross, down, and then individuals in this neighborhood can transport it from this area to city, where it gets sold in marketplaces and stuff. You know, maybe I should make an official, like, central market. I mean, I have the fish market over here, which I think looks great, so I think I should do some sort of central selling area. I think a good place for that would be maybe up on the hill, up against this wall, yeah. So that kind of makes sense that the road would it would continue up here, and then based on the path of the road, the intersection of these two, I can probably make the market in this square right here. So once I delete this building, it's kind of in the way of the road. I'll add steps coming up like this. Perfect. And then I'm going to continue. Should I continue the marketplace, or should I be kind of done with that? I mean, if I didn't have a marketplace, what else would be at the top of the hill, right? Maybe some kind of old castle or religious building? Ooh, that's what I can do. I can do like a some kind of religious site that both sides of the city like and both sides want access to. So I can build like a viaduct across the city. Yet another thing cutting through this kind of poor area of the city. Oh, maybe I can have like a step well or something that goes down into the bottom of the hill. That would be cool. And then this area maybe can be for whoever sustains this religious site, so like the monks or whatever. So it can be rows of kind of humble dormitories like this, just to occupy the top side of that hill. And they can each be identical. Have a little thing like this. And then down here, I'll just make more neighborhood kind of climbing this hill. I can't make everything can't make too many landmarks because that's not really realistic. A city has to have a pretty big section of it, pretty much just houses. Even this, I'm overrepresenting the landmarks. Like in a real city, a city with this many landmarks would be like this big probably. As big as the whole map, or bigger than the whole screen right now. But we are not in a real city. We are in my imaginary city, so I can do whatever I want, I guess. If I gotta build a bridge from the rich part of the city to the temple over here, I gotta figure out what the path is gonna be. Maybe just over these streets. So kind of casting a shadow over these main streets. Great. Okay. So now I pretty much just have this area of the poor part of town. What could be there? Maybe just more neighborhoods? Yeah, more neighborhoods. Maybe we can have some kind of other government building right by this checkpoint area, so you can renew your passport or do all sorts of diplomatic stuff. Yeah, so that kind of stubby building is just a big administrative center. Okay, so I think I'm done with that half of the city. So now on to the part of the city that's kind of the more luxurious part of the city, the nicer part of the city, where the more wealthy residents live. I want to continue the roads that I made here and here that I wanted to kind of say were the main streets of the old combined city. And so even though the wall is built, those streets would still remain on both sides. They just would no longer be connected. So you can see on the old side of the city, they're the widest streets around, pretty much. This street right here and this street right here. And then on the newer part of the city, those should kind of be the same, basically. So, okay. Perfect, so that's the bridge. It's really kind of an ugly bridge, given how much I want the city to be nice. Maybe I can make them towers. Oh, lots of towers. This part of town is going to have towers on towers on towers on towers. Maybe arches too. No, that's too much. Towers are good enough. And then it can have another street going along this direction. Because this is kind of the central business district, I like to think, of this whole area. So it's got to have kind of nice buildings. Ooh, and the skyscraper's got balconies. Okay. And then, so that's going to be the street over to the bridge. We can do a yellow building along there. Interesting. It doesn't make a roof there, it makes a balcony. That's okay. And then slightly different shade of yellow just next to it. And this part of the city, this can be like color coded, just because these people probably have all sorts of zoning and a lot of time on their hands to worry about the color accuracy of everything. And so they've just got the yellow district, the green district, kind of obnoxiously perfect place. Perfect. Maybe a little orange guy. Oh, and then these people decided to go layers like that, stacked a little. Creative. And then next, so I'll have a little, that's yellow, that's green, and this can be kind of the orange and red and then purple over here. Now this is a more hefty building. This can be some kind of maritime business headquarter type of thing. It's right on the channel at the entrance to the harbor, so maybe it's something relating to that. And then it can have like a additional building across the street that is connected to. So it could be a little like this. Got a bridge. Perfect. And then the purple, I can have some kind of cultural building here, like the Sydney Opera House, you know? So this can be nice. This can be, how big can I make it? And then if that is got to come through here. Because the wall was supposed to have gone through the road, the road has to be there on the rich side of the city as well as the poor side. So I rebuilt the red building and expanded the auditorium building a little bit, as well as deleted the little white lighthouse. And then I'm thinking this can be the real skyscrapery downtown Manhattan type of place. So I can get really nice buildings here. Let's go with kind of a greenish blue to kind of go with the bridge to start with. Cool. And then here I can have a more conventional, like maybe this is a historic fort building, like some kind of colonial thing. So that can be white, just in the vein of making the older buildings white. I can go right up on the edge, and I can have a nice big courtyard. Should I leave room? Yeah, I should leave room around it. I think it's too tall. If it's a historic building, it probably wasn't such a big honker, you know? Oh, but if I have those arches, then I won't be able to have a courtyard. I'll just add a second layer over here, maybe? Yeah, perfect. And then maybe a little tower, some kind of memorial or something. Perfect. And then this can be another skyscraper, like maybe an orange color to kind of merge with the yellow over here. Or I'll do two. I'll do one orange and I'll do one red over there. And these don't have to be that tall, because they're not right in the primo location. It's kind of like the Willis Tower in Chicago. The different steps with the different steps going up. Yeah, cool. Except that one I think has a, let's not make it exactly like that. Okay. Oh, over here. Totally forgot over here. Nice, just kind of some apartment or something. Apartment building. Yeah. Maybe this can be a church. So I'll make this more low-key. I don't love the color though, it's kind of a bad church color. I feel like churches shouldn't have laundry hanging between them and the next building, right? Let's make some renovations. Let's have the church be on an island. Why not, right? Well, not quite an island, because it'll have a little bridge going to the main area. But just so it's somewhat separated. Perfect. Perfect. And then there can be some kind of, just a little stand or something. Selling food. Who knows? Perfect. Maybe some more of those in the water too. Like a beach market or something. Oops. And then next to the church, there should be a graveyard. Well, that would be a tiny graveyard because it would only have one little green patch. Instead, there can be the rectory, the little house for the minister, but this one can be large because this is the nice part of the city. It's the only church there. It's probably super old, so this guy gets a nice house. Perfect. And then on this side of the wall, let's make a hotel. Like just a casual hotel right in the water here. Maybe it's got some boats on it, so it can get out into the ocean. So its guests can go out into the ocean. And the hotel could be like a yellow color. Did I just play something? I don't know. Or if it's yellow, it might match this too much. Let's make it orange. Perfect, okay. That does not look good. I don't know why I said perfect. How can I make this? Because if I go one level up, it'll make the, it'll just merge with the wall. Maybe if I go like this. Cool. Yeah, so it's got kind of a luxury beach vibe. And then we can make the balconies go all the way around, or not the balconies, the overhang, go all the way around so that you can have coverage from the elements. Would it make a, yeah, that looks better. Just more clean. Okay, and then the building next to it, that can be just like some shops. So now I think it's time for the grand tour of the city. So the premise behind this build was basically having an island city that's divided in two by this wall right here. I'm thinking kind of like the Berlin Wall a little bit, but it's not so direct, so this isn't supposed to represent anything specific. But basically, this side is the poorer half of the city, and this side is the rich half of the city, and the reason it's rich is because it has access to these ports, so all of, the more educated trade people would be in this area, dealing with foreign visitors and speaking foreign languages and stuff, and then this area was for kind of the brunt of the rest of the city that was producing things, farming, just kind of living their lives. And then for some reason there was a rift between these two groups of people. They built this wall that I'm tracing with my mouse right now across the city, and now it is kind of an island of two cities. So one half is really rich and nice, and the other half is kind of all over the place, jumbled. It's poorer, but not super poor, but it's just not as nice as this part of the city. So let's go for the main tour. We start out pretty much with the wall. The wall extends from this point here all along here. There's a little gate. You can see that the people on this side of the city are maybe more oriented towards getting into this half than the people are in this half trying to get into this half. So this half of the city, the poorer half of the city, has like a building where people can get their passports processed and do all sorts of things to try to make it out of the gates and try to get to this part of the city. And then these people kind of could care less. So that's what these buildings are for. These are the guard buildings. There's a pretty narrow entrance just because travel between these two parts of the city is not super common. And so that's kind of the dynamic at this gate here. And then it keeps going, and it kind of wraps around this corner and ends. So maybe in the course of the process of splitting, the people in the rich half of the city were determined to keep this entire canal, which is what links them to the outside world. The ocean maybe is too rough to have boats in traditionally, and so they need this harbor in order to have any kind of shipping industry or contact with the outside world. And these people don't have contact with the outside world except through this gate where they can access these ports. Now, the poorer half of the city does have a market, does have like some kind of harbor right here, this little mini thing, but it can't fit any large ships, so it's pretty much just for fishermen, and they will come in and then sell their fish at this marketplace right here. And that's what this community is kind of oriented around, is this fish market. The rest of the city will come and buy whatever they need, fish, shellfish, and stuff from this market. But the people who are actually working there are the ones in this neighborhood right here. In each of these neighborhoods, I try to design as organically as possible, so it kind of looks like they are built up over a long period of time. Maybe this section is more organized because it was centrally planned like 200 years ago or something with the creation of the fish market, so there's a little bit of a grid here, but not much, and it kind of breaks up in the back as you go. And then around, I'll get to these buildings later, but around this side you have some kind of fish processing plant, gutting, I don't know, whatever you do with fish, canning them, and then behind that is the school, and this is the school that is for this whole part of the city, so it does not have a lot of resources, educational resources. And then this is the bathroom. Kind of gross, but I made the bathroom go over the water so that it doesn't have any plumbing. You just go right to the bathroom in the middle of the ocean. And then you've got these three public housing buildings. These public housing buildings were not very well designed. They totally destroyed the urban fabric, the community that existed here before, totally bisecting this part of the city, isolating the fishing neighborhood from the rest of the neighborhoods. And really, they're just ugly. They're just total eyesores. I based them off of the public housing buildings that are in my area, because I'm from the New York area, so we've got these kind of cross-shaped buildings everywhere as you drive into the city, and so that's what those are. And then I've got more of these little neighborhoods behind here, kind of these windy streets going up and down stairs. Maybe some courtyards every once in a while, but for the most part, it's pretty paved. And then here I've got a church. This is one of the nicer, or maybe not a church, but some kind of religious building. One of the nicer buildings in this part of the city. Unfortunately, it's blocked by this viaduct, which I'll get to later. But that is kind of one of the major landmarks, one of the tallest buildings before the public housing was built. And then you can kind of continue, and you'll see that we've got this road right here that starts at the wall, goes up. Well, really, it starts over here across the bridge, goes up to this marketplace, which I'll get to later. And then it intersects with this road, also a large road, which comes down, also crosses the wall, or would cross if there were not a wall there, and goes to the harbor. I was kind of imagining that these are the historical main streets of the city before the wall was constructed, both of which lead between the more poor and the richer parts of the city. Unfortunately, the wall totally stops traffic there, but you still have the shape. So as we go here, you can see this is kind of a main street in this poorer neighborhood. You go past kind of where the gate is, through this kind of smaller alleyway type of thing, which has since become a more main street in this scenario because you have a lot of people getting from this part of the city to this part of the city through this side street. But traditionally, when the wall wasn't there, this might have been the main, I guess if that's north, that's south, this would have been the main north-south road going north to south. And then you've got this road right here, also very large. I think it's the largest one in the map. And then kind of a neighborhood over here, and then more neighborhoods down this way. I didn't really design any of these buildings to be specifically anything. They're just kind of jumbled together, random colors, sometimes colors stacked on top of colors. It's not super organized, so it's kind of supposed to simulate a situation where there's not as big central government authority telling people where they can and can't build and what they can and can't build. And then here, right along the edge of the wall, kind of right where the wealthy part of the city is, you've got this old nice building. Maybe it's some kind of mansion or something, but it's got this nice courtyard in the middle, got a nice kind of driveway on the side with this arch going in, little parking lot. And so this is one of the wealthier residents who unfortunately got trapped on the other side of the wall. Probably not the side they wanted to be on, but that's where the building is. Then, as you kind of continue, you can go back through these windy streets, or go back this direction, and then you will get to this grain processing center or agricultural goods processing center, which processes the things that were farmed in this area. This is supposed to be kind of like, not really rural obviously, but it's the only farmland that exists on this island, and it's mostly farmed by like these small little farmers in these houses here. And then there's the school. Okay, so let's go back in this direction. So if you were to go up the main street, you would have either of the main streets really, either this one right here or this one over here. You would have come right into the central kind of marketplace area, which obviously is empty because there's no people. But if there were people who were living in this city, they'd be having stalls underneath these overhangs right here. And so people in the poorer part of the city and the richer part of the city, when the wall wasn't there, would come, buy their goods, their food, their whatever, and then go back home and make it. And here is maybe some kind of kiosk or something. I don't really know what that would be. Just some little landmark. And then here is probably the most important building in this whole place. I'm imagining it's kind of like an old step well. They have these in India, I know, where they used to get water, and they also have maybe some kind of religious significance. Actually, I'm not sure. I shouldn't say that, so I don't really know. But they look really cool. They go either in one direction like this, or for a smaller one, or they would go from all four corners, coming down like a big staircase into the well at the bottom. And this is not supposed to be culturally accurate or anything, or even engineering accurate, because you wouldn't have a well at the top of a hill. So I'm kind of imagining that this is a symbolic thing. You can see if you zoom in, you can see at the bottom of the well there's some water there. And then as you're going down the well, you see this arch here, which maybe has some kind of religious significance. But I'm imagining that this is kind of some temple / functional building that people on both sides of the city value. And so that's why the rich part of the city built this here, this viaduct, to get people from the rich part across over the other part of the city, the poorer part, and just into this temple area here so that they can worship or appreciate it or whatever has some kind of cultural significance. The viaduct obviously goes over all these neighborhoods, which they probably don't like. And then it also covers the view of this big church, or this big religious building, whatever you want it to be. So kind of a big slap in the face to the poorer part of the city by the richer part of the city. And then right next to the temple, you've got these three buildings, which are supposed to be dormitories for whoever maintains this area. Maybe it's monks or priests or whoever is living there. And then as you go across the viaduct, then you get into the richer part of the city. And this is a night and day difference, I think. I tried to make it at least. So you can see they clearly have some kind of central zoning. It's color coded, so the map changes colors as you go from the green part through the purple part to the yellow, back to the red, back to the purple. And it's also got much larger buildings, much more skyscrapers. The buildings aren't really hodgepodge stacked on top of each other like they are here. They're definitely very, very organized. I mean, there's some that are multicolored, but it's still one building. It's not like these are just different people who are occupying different portions of this area. Right here, this bridge, as I mentioned, used to be a part of this main street, but now it's just here. So that is the main way people get across from the island to this kind of coastal area. The coastal area starts with this hotel. I used to work at a hotel that was a waterfront hotel, a boutique hotel in my hometown. So this is a little bit designed off of that. Got some outdoor seating, maybe a restaurant or something, and maybe boats can dock here so that people can have a hotel room that they can just sail out of or motorboat or yacht or whatever out of. Here you've got some just smaller shops or something. And then over here, I kind of forget what I wanted this building to be. I think just kind of a generic office building, skyscraper, maybe some kind of governmental building, white, like all the main central buildings are in this game. And then a series of not quite super tall buildings, but still tall buildings and symmetrical and nice looking, color coded, standard. Maybe they're apartment buildings or something like that. And then as you go down, kind of more of the same. There's this place you can get out of the rain in. And then this is supposed to be the gate to the harbor. So this is maybe some kind of company that controls the entrance to the harbor or something that deals with the shipping industry. So they've got this big chunky building, a bridge over, and then this other building right here. So they kind of have physical dominance over this region. And then here is, I'm kind of imagining, is like a Sydney Opera House type of building. Very expensive auditorium, performance space, something like that. Something to attract tourists and impress people and make the people in the rich part of the city feel like they're cultured. So that's what that is. And then this is a lighthouse, just to get people knowing what the entrance to the city is. I would have the lighthouse in an island or something, but the grid only goes out to here. Let me turn it off, actually. The grid only goes out to here. So I would have a lighthouse out there, but unfortunately you can't build that far. And then here, maybe this is some kind of historical mission or something, colonial building. Got a big courtyard in the middle, some kind of tower, maybe it's mausoleum or whatever to the person who built it. But this is some kind of historically preserved area. And then as you go back, it pretty much immediately becomes super tall skyscraper central. You've got really thin streets. Ooh, actually, how can I zoom into this? That's cool. Yeah, you've got really thin streets with these really tall buildings on either side. So it's clearly not very bright here. A lot of shadows. But that's kind of the vibe in that part of the city. And then each of the buildings is kind of its own interesting shape, trying to be unique. Here are some kind of twin towers like this. Oh, I actually kind of like that building right there. Some kind of twin symmetrical building. Actually, they're connected, so it's not really two buildings. But that's what that is. And then just back here, more kind of crazy looking buildings. Here, I'm imagining is some kind of waterfront marketplace, a lot smaller than the main marketplace in the other part of the city. But I'm imagining that less people live here. Like maybe a lot of these apartments are bought by people who live in other places, other countries or something like that, and they just have these apartments as investments or something. And then over here, you've got this small, I don't know if you'd call it an island or a peninsula. It's got this little bridge connector to the mainland, but this is a church, some kind of historical church on the back end of the island with the rectory where the minister or priest or whoever gives the sermons lives. And so that is pretty much it. That's pretty much the whole city. I'm gonna probably go around and take some nice screenshots of it so you can see the nice views. But that's about it. So thank you for joining me. I don't know when my next video will be. I don't have a schedule yet. I'm just kind of making these videos whenever I want. But I appreciate you watching, whoever you are. So I will see you on the next video. Black Lives Matter. And I hope you have an excellent rest of your day.